Hi, and welcome to Fan Talk. I'm Simon.
I'm David.
And welcome to our weekly roundup where we're going to talk about the box office numbers for the last weekend of August 2nd. Ready for this?
Oh, here we go.
Okay. We had Supercharged number one, Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, number one.
No one saw that coming. Actually, everyone saw that coming.
Yeah.
Opened right up the predictions of about 60 million domestic. Total for the worldwide, about 180 million with the budget of 200. It's on track to be pretty well. Pretty well for itself. Now, we don't know if it's going to... well, it's probably not going to do as well as the main Fast and the Furious series, but it's a spin-off.
It shouldn't be expected to. It's not a Fast and the Furious movie. It is a spin-off. And as far as spin-offs goes, this is trending that direction, wouldn't you say? I mean,
yeah, and it still has yet to open in China, which historically has loved these kind of big Hollywood action movies, and they've always liked The Rock and Jason Statham. So we'll see how that goes there in a couple weeks, but it's on track to do pretty well.
Yeah, depending on how it legs out, we'll see how our final numbers end up, but it's tracking like it'll do well. The opening weekend is right on par with what they were expecting. So,
and there's no other major releases or action movies coming out for a while now, so it has room to do what it needs to.
It has room to go. If you want to see this kind of a film, then this is your choice.
Right.
So,
coming in number 2 is The Lion King, which did an unusual feat recently. It passed itself in the box office charts. It has now passed the 1994 Lion King. For the
previously animated Lion King.
Yes, the other animated Lion King. So it's doing pretty well. It has rocketed to 1.2 billion worldwide relatively quickly.
But it dropped 50% today.
Yeah, it's not lagging out like a typical family or animated movie. It's hitting. It's 50% would be kind of more like just what you think from a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, it's where it just kind of drops off really, really quickly. And if it keeps dropping like that, it's definitely not going to hang in with another movie on this list from Disney, Aladdin.
Oh.
It's just been trekking.
It's it's right basically neck and neck with Aladdin worldwide, and so it will pass Aladdin's total, but it's not going to. Aladdin's the opposite of that, where it had huge legs, even though it never had, just the massive opening. It just had, it's still in the top 10, and it came out in May. I mean, that and John Wick 3 are like the two best legs for all year so far. And also, I guess, Endgame. Okay, so third on the list is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now doing is Quentin Tarantino's best opening and best run on his movies, now on its second weekend. Still has yet to go international, but has made $78 million domestic. And with the $90 million budget plus marketing cost, hopefully the international does well too, especially the word of mouth and the good critical reviews. But it's doing rock solid for an original film in the middle of summer. And I think everyone's pretty happy with how it's been turning out.
Well, I mean, Quentin Tarantino should have nothing to be upset about. This is doing better than any of his previous films. It's got to be a little... It has to feel good, to know that your films are always well received and do so well, and to have something come out later on in your career where a lot of people kind of go up and down, he just kind of keeps mastering his art and getting better.
Well, I mean, how many other directors especially have such a name recognition that their name can basically drive the marketing of a movie?
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's not a lot of people. I mean,
Spielberg maybe.
Yeah,
Lucas, Cameron.
Yeah,
that's about it.
But even then, you say it's a Cameron film. Nothing taken away from Cameron. I'm just saying that
it didn't drive Alita to
exactly. There's films that it doesn't push the film, but I mean, if you have Quentin Tarantino attached to your film, immediately there's
a big chunk of people are going to be like, yeah, I'll go see it.
There's a certain marketing to just having his name attached to something, which I think speaks light years of the ability that he has to make films and storytell.
Yeah, and his films are always very distinctive. I remember back in the day when Inglourious Basterds came out.
Yeah.
I actually, it's before I really it was a period when I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of the movie stuff, and so I went to the theater one day like, I'm just going to see a movie. I was like, that sounds like fun. When to go see it? It didn't have his name on the posters anywhere. I was like, that just sounds like fun. I'm going to go see it. Watching the movie, like, right after the credits were, and it was the opening scene in the farmhouse. And I was sitting there watching it like, this has got to be a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Right, immediately. It's
it's just so distinctive, his style, and I love it. Coming forth is Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
It is trucking along. It's over $1 billion. It's still on... keep being the biggest Spider-Man movie ever until the next one comes out.
Maybe you'll outdo it.
Yeah. I saw this thing the other day about some plot holes due to the fact that the writers didn't have the full endgame notes available to them to be able to write. And then, obviously, some of them were pushing the envelope a little bit, but one of them was if Tony had the Edith glasses available, why didn't he use them and all those drones?
I got you. Dish out these questions and I'll answer. Who's to be a fan of comic books, who reads a lot of comics and stuff. I mean, and this might not be like what their official answer would be, but I would say this: Tony Stark, he left a message like in Endgame, for his family in case he died. This was, in
case he died, he gets us.
Yeah, in case he died, there's this, his family knows his thoughts, his wishes. This is a man who is a planner. He's always thinking ahead. He's a brilliant man. So the whole idea of the glasses and everything and leaving them to Peter, it was something that he was thinking of way in advance. It's like, if I pull this off and Peter comes back, he's who I'd want to have the glasses. It's never touched on the fact that there might have been a follow-up person, and if Peter isn't back, then I want...
And Peter was one of the reasons that he agreed to do the whole thing and in the first place.
But, I mean, for all we know, there was another backup. If it goes to Peter. If it doesn't go to Peter, it goes to Cap. If it doesn't go to Cap, it goes, maybe to Pepper. It's like, who knows who else he would have decided to leave him to. But I guarantee you he had a plan. And the whole idea of not using them in this attack is that at this point...
It all happened so quickly, maybe he didn't have access to them.
Well, and Tony already knows what's been useful and what hasn't. I mean, those drones, how well would they have really serviced in that attack, versus Thanos? When, they were hitting him with lightning and they were hitting him with everything they had and barely putting a dent in him. Do you want to destroy this possible defense of Earth that could do some good for somebody in the future, or do you want to save it in the aspect that hopefully you win? Because it really wasn't going to make a big dent in that situation anyways. That would have been...
I'm intrigued about this possible list of who would have gone to in case of... I wonder how far Ant-Man would be down that list to get the Edith glasses.
And that's the thing. This is for a whole other conversation, but I want to touch on this real quick. There's a lot of hate on Ant-Man in these movies, and it irritates the crap out of me. Even the heroes of the movie are dogging on him. This is the guy who allowed all this to happen. And yeah, he's a goofball, but he never touches the fact that he's a genius. He's not. But he's able to actually talk about quantum physics. How many people do you know that can sit around and actually talk to us about physics, that haven't studied or have some basic idea of it? Not many. This guy is... basically has a girlfriend and her father who have let him use their tech and have taught him like this much, yet he's able to kind of explain it to Captain America and Black Widow.
And keep up on missions and do that kind of stuff.
And he has a lot of really good ideas. He's an excellent thief. And that's... Infiltration and spying, Yeah, he's good at what he's good at. Yeah. And he actually saves everybody at the end of that movie. Spoilers, if you haven't seen it, you're an idiot, go watch it. But he's always there in a pinch, and I think that's really awesome. And that being said, too, this is Scott Lang's Ant-Man, which is not Pym. Pym was the original Ant-Man. So.
And also, the Ant-Man movies are comedic by nature compared to the rest of the Marvel movies, so it's going to bring that into it anyway.
Yeah.
And, Paul Rudd does an excellent job with that. And I think we can all get over the part that they were never going to put Ant-Man up Thanos' butt. And everyone can just get over that. As funny as it would have sounded to beat him, and that it was never actually going to happen.
Oh goodness! All right, back to the roundup.
Okay, that segues nicely to Toy Story 4 as number 5.
Kids movie.
Chugging right along. It's at 960 million worldwide. It's probably on path to hit $1 billion, but it probably might be close. But we'll see. Yeah. There's people were talking or dogging that movie when it was coming out, saying, "Oh, it didn't do it to expectations," and it's at almost $1 billion. It's done
just fine. Yeah, this is a sequel, by the way. Toy Story, as we've talked about this before, as far as sequels go, has historically done very well at creating something new that's fun to watch. Especially animated sequels, have a tendency to not be very strong as a parent to their predecessors. So.
And I love how they come up with a sequel. I've read about they come up with sequels for the Toy Story. A lot of sequels is like, the studio's like, this made a ton of money. Writers, go figure out another movie, get it out next year. Meanwhile, Toy Story, they're like, okay, we're done for now. Pixar's, we're going to do other stuff. And then the writers, like, after a period of time, will be like, I think I've thought of a fresh idea for this. And then they'll approach the studio saying, hey, here's our pitch for a sequel. I know, so that's how Pixar does most of their sequels.
Which is
and
why
it's much
most
more
of their
organic and it means more.
Yeah, and a lot of their sequels are a lot better.
Except for Cars 2. That was a studio saying, get another one out.
Yeah,
we need merchandising.
It's hard to... yeah.
That's hard. That's probably the hardest one to defend at Pixar. Cars 2, making Cars 3 look good.
There you go.
Number 6 is Yesterday. It's
still in the top 10.
Yeah. On $26 million budget, it's made $120 million worldwide. It's for the kind of movie it is, it's doing well. Shows the fan interest level in the Beatles and Beatles themed movies. Also, this round of music-based movies that we've been seeing lately seems to definitely be a hit. Got a Bruce Springsteen one coming out soon from the makers of Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing if that's Bruce Springsteen, obviously, he's great.
Rock and roll icon.
But, when dealing with, the Beatles and Queen, is he up there, do you think?
I think so, honestly. To tell you the truth, Bruce Springsteen, you go back to his music coming out and what it meant, there's a lot of good stuff there. And a great catalog. I enjoy his music. I think that it's also, for me personally, there's some of these music stars that you see a lot about their lives, especially these days. Bruce Springsteen is kind of one of those guys that came up in a point where there wasn't all this media and stuff. I don't know a whole lot about Bruce Springsteen's life, to tell you the truth, and I think it'd be a refreshing film. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So
okay, and I don't know if that film will get a whole lot into it. It seems to be primarily about the lyrics and its effects on an Indian teenager in England at the time. So it's very interesting. As I said, made by the people that did Bend It Like Beckham, and that was a very enjoyable movie. And I'm looking forward to trying that one out. But anyway, Yesterday, doing well still. It's got great legs on it. Dropped only 20% week to week. So it's just chugging along week by week, earning a little bit of money.
Now, this next movie I'm excited about because we talked about it previously and how it's doing and what it's doing.
Right. Farewell.
Yeah.
With Awkwafina.
Yeah.
Not Dasani. Awkwafina. It has added theaters, which is unusual for a movie, especially in the top 10. It's basically solely going from a limited release to a wide release. It's went up 58% week to week, which you don't see unless you're adding theaters and adding screens, which means it's still doing well. It has made it's only at 6.8 million, but it started off with just a handful of screens, and it's just adding.
What was its budget again?
I could not see that on there, so.
Okay.
But it's not obviously a blockbuster style budget, so it's just they're seeing where it's going. I'm wondering if this is one that's gonna be, they're trying to roll it out slowly just to get some buzz going into award season before. I don't think it's even gone international yet, so they're just doing a slow burn on this one.
Yeah.
Number 8 is a movie I just saw last weekend, Crawl. Our favorite Gator movie.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, it was enjoyable. You're obviously a bigger fan of these kind of movies than I am, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was well done for the type of movie it was.
Exactly. It's kind of what I was saying. It's one of those films that it's a disaster movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a horror film, but not really. In a lot of ways, it's kind of a disaster film.
Horror-aster.
Yeah, Horror-aster. We're gonna trademarked.
Yeah. No, I was actually continuously impressed with being a water-based movie.
Yeah.
For a large part of it, and also for the effects of the gators involved, being only $13 million budget.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't think about before until you just brought that up. Is how expensive it is to film on water, and it is, folks. I mean, if you look at any movie, these films that are filmed on water, Waterworld, it's a killer. Cutthroat Island. There's another one. Just. It is expensive. It is hard to do. There's a lot of ins and outs to doing it. It's hard to get takes right. Weather is a factor. It's tough.
Well, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's sand from Star Wars.
Oh, it does get everywhere.
You go through more equipment. You need more things to obviously contain and control the water. I think it's probably more likely to have accidents on. It just so much more goes into it.
Yeah, and this film was done primarily on water, and with water all around, and with rain effects, and with apparently completely CGI'd alligators or creatures, and they still kept that budget low.
That's impressive. I'm looking forward to finding out some more about how the making of that one. On the DVD or Blu-ray commentaries, I've long since given up time to watch every single commentary track or making of, but that might be one that might be interesting to see. So some of the behind the scenes of how they accomplish those effects.
Yeah.
Number 9 Aladdin, now in its 37th year of release. It's been out since May and it's still in the top 10. It's amazing. It only dropped 30% last weekend. I'm sorry. Yeah, 30% last weekend. Yeah. So, it's over $1 billion now. It's up there with the upper echelons of the live action movies, such as Beauty and the Beast, and by far Will Smith's biggest movie.
Yeah. Ever.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, when you look at the movies he's done, I mean...
I don't know if that's inflation factored in, because I don't know if Independence Day or some of the other ones would be as big as they are now with today's ticket prices. But just in raw numbers, it's his biggest one ever. Yeah. Of course, his career has had a lull for a long time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd say ever since the zombie one... back in the mid to late 2000s.
I Am Legend.
That's it.
Yeah.
Since then, it seems like he's had a bunch of movies out, and some have been critical successes and, good for the reviews, but nothing huge, massive Hollywood. Yeah,
there's been some real hits and misses, but with anybody's career, you have those, and
it's nice to see him have comeback on it because he's great.
Well, I tell you, I'm super excited. Like, I haven't seen a Will Smith movie that I was just like, man, I've got to see this one. I'm stoked about Gemini Man.
Yeah,
I think that movie looks really good, and it's kind of back to that classic action film that I like. A little bit different than the Hobbs and Shaw kind of action, with a little bit of sci-fi wrapped in and tied together in a nice little bow.
Yeah, this is like pure solid sci-fi.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a really good film. But moving on.
I just want to say on that one, I've actually gotten even more interested in seeing. Obviously, the previews were great to watch, but. With that much de-aging and CGI of the face, I was initially very concerned when reading about the idea of this a while back. Like, are we going to hit the uncanny valley? Is this just going to be like, oh, it just looks cheap, on the effects? But two things really sold me on that it should be good if they did it right. One, and the main one, is Samuel Jackson and Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. They did an excellent job on that. I never really got the uncanny feeling from all the CGI in the face. And the other one is Alita, seeing what they can now do with...
that was crazy.
You just recently caught up on that one, didn't you?
I did, and I mean, it's an anime, and I watch some anime, but there's things I watch are hit and miss compared to what's popular and what's not. So recently I've really tried to start catching up on a lot of things that are popular that I've never watched, and but when that came out, I had never seen any of the anime for that, and so I was kind of going in blind, and so I wasn't in a big hurry to catch it. And you and me were talking, I decided to watch it, and good God, the cinematography alone was fun. It was a fun movie, and
you forget about the fact that that's a CGI character.
In fact, I just kept wondering if it was like a human face, and they just did the CGI just the eyes, because obviously her eyes were way too big, and that typical anime style. But then I was reading, it's like, no, it was
motion
completely animated character. It blew my mind. They did a good job.
Yes, I forget the exact numbers, but I was reading about how the number of polygons per character in Avatar was like, I can't remember, say 1 million polygons per character. Her eyeballs are like 8 billion polygons per eyeball.
Yeah,
I was
jeez. It is ridiculous. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to touch base on that, and I really hope they get to make a second one. They already developed all the technology for it, and how expensive is Edward Norton these days?
Edward Norton's fantastic. I was just shocked that such a big name actor ended up just that small little thing at the end. But I believe it's because they plan on making more films. It just depends on how well it did. It was
right on the line. Depends on merchandising. And also depends how much clout Jim Cameron has at Disney when making Avatars. If they want to make him happy, they might throw on the bone and be like, then go do it.
Yeah,
We'll see. And rounding out the top 10 is Annabelle, coming in at, now it's at 215 million worldwide, which for a summer horror, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's nothing. Like I said, for me, being a fan who comes from the horror genre now, I'm not as into horror films. It's kind of funny, as I got older, I started enjoying other films a little bit more than your average teenage slasher film that I loved in my 20s. But I still have a deep love for horror films. I like to watch them when I can. I definitely try and keep up with the most popular ones. I tend to watch them after the kids and wife have gone to bed, because they all really get scared with horror films where it doesn't bother me. But I'm happy to see in the top 10 towards the end of the summer, we still have 2 horror films on there.
Yeah.
And that they've had a decent run as far as amount of weeks that they've been in the top 10. So I think that speaks light years for the genre, especially coming out in the summer. And I hope that, it kind of is a trend. We start seeing more horror films throughout the year, not everything grouped right in fall.
Yeah. Looking ahead to next weekend, August 9th, I'm surprised we actually have several movies coming out. No major blockbuster style movies like that's just going to blow everyone else away. But we got some interesting choices coming out. The biggest movie, when I say biggest movie, I think the one that's going to make the biggest waves, and I could be wrong, but it's going to be Dora and the Lost City of Gold, just because of the well-known IP.
Well, and it's a kids' film.
Yeah,
it's something you take your kids to. It's going to be fun.
Everyone has a daughter who's going to have to go.
Yeah, and it's like, and the cartoon has been a hit for years, and then they ended up having the older years where she's like a teenager. So if you have a daughter, you've seen Dora grow up, and
I've only ever seen the younger one, so I was surprised to see this one being a little bit older, like maybe 13, 14.
There's an animated series that goes along that track. You see Dora grow up throughout the series, and I have a daughter, so
okay. I'll be taking her too.
Yeah, so I mean, but I think I've watched the preview for it, and it looks funny. It looks like an adult could go and not just be like, oh god.
So they're trying to. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a fantasy base, but it's also not completely in left field either.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how much fan service they have. Swipe, no swipe. Things like that that you can throw in just to make everyone happy.
Yeah.
But it's got Danny Trejo in it, and I always enjoy him.
Yeah.
Eva Longoria.
Have you seen the preview yet?
Uh-huh.
Like the characters and who they play.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's gonna. I'm saying as an adult, I'm gonna get drugged to this film. But I'm not hurt about going and watching it. I think that there'll be some chuckles. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun little
cheese, and it'll just be like Spy Kids kind of.
Like, and it'll be something I can enjoy with my children, which is always a plus. So I think this movie will. I think it'll round out well.
Okay. Also coming is The Art of Racing in the Rain with Milo Ventimiglia. Yeah, from This Is Us fame, and Amanda Seyfried, and Kevin Costner as the dog, based upon the book of the same name. It's about a race car.
Yeah, actually, I've seen the preview for this one too. I'm always watching this stuff. It actually looks really good. I think it's based on a racer, and it's like a story of his life. He has this dog, and from what I can tell, the story is kind of told through the dog.
Yeah, because Costner is the voice of the dog. So.
Yeah, and it's like it's a love story.
I'm assuming it's an over-the-top narration, not a dog moving mouth narration.
No, yeah. It's from what I can tell from the previews, it's just the dog, but you hear his voice, like Look Who's Talking kind of style. And
they couldn't afford Morgan Freeman.
I like Kevin Costner.
I do too.
Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman were in what movie together?
You got me.
Robin Hood, man.
Oh,
come on!
I wouldn't go back that far.
Come on!
Okay, well, this movie is actually from the Fox studio, which now Disney is, along with everything else. But Disney hasn't been advertising a whole lot of the Fox movies. I'm just wondering if they're just kind of dropping them and getting them out of the pipeline, or also maybe just don't want to put a whole lot of money into advertising a drama comedy at this point, and just let it see how it does on its own terms, I guess. Also coming out is Brian Banks, story about another true story about a football linebacker falsely, if I'm understanding correctly, accused of rape, and its effects on him. It has Idris Hodge as the title character, and Greg Kinnear as his attorney.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good film for a lot of the sports guys out there. I mean, I feel like in this world you have like your people who really like films and movies, and you have your sports guys. Now you got guys that cross over in both genres, but I feel like a lot of sports guys, they tend to watch sports. They don't watch as many movies, and the movies they enjoy are sports movies. And this is going to be a good sports.
Do you think this is going to be like sports movie, like a lot of like field action and flashbacks, or do you think it's going to be mostly a courtroom drama?
I think it'll have a little bit of both, but I think the thing is for sports fans, this is a story that they know, and you like to kind of see the things that maybe you didn't read about, and kind of see these stories about the people you care about and that you admire. And this is something that's kind of important in today's world, where you're assumed guilty until proven innocent. Unfortunately,
especially in a media situation.
Yeah, and this is one of those cases that I think that the movie is going to highlight a lot of that. And I think as a sports fan, if you're a sports fan, you're going to really enjoy this film.
It'd be a good message if they hit that just right to get out there. It's I didn't recognize the production company, so it appears to be an actual indie project.
Okay.
Also coming out, The Kitchen. This is based on a comic book with Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Moss, and Tiffany Haddish, about the wives of Irish mobsters in Hell's Kitchen, New York.
Yeah.
So this would be an interesting, and a different side of the gangster genre.
Well, and I think it's kind of cool because if you like gangster movies, there is something to be said about the whole family. You watch like stuff from the Godfather instance, you know a lot about like the capos and all these guys. It doesn't go as deep into the family, but then when you have the Sopranos come out, you start seeing the wives and the kids and the daughters and how you live in this life when you grow up in that life. And I think
Goodfellas touched a little on that too.
Yeah, it did, and there's films that have, but it's like you have to think that a woman who is married to a man who lives that kind of life, what kind of life do they live? You know, and I mean, even the Orange is New Black has touched a little bit on some of that, like characters in jail, and like I think that this side of things is something that I think viewers will enjoy seeing. I'm kind of excited about it.
I'm looking forward to seeing Melissa McCarthy in a dramatic role,
Yeah.
away from her usual slapstick comedy. Be a good way for her to stretch out a little bit.
Yeah, and I think she has such a fantastic job. I really, I admire her and her work. I think that she's a good actress. I think
All three of them are good.
Yeah, I think her stretching her legs a little bit and doing some different stuff, I think will be good for her. So.
And the last one, I said a bunch of movies coming out this weekend. They're all kind of like different little target audiences too. The last one is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
In the Dark, which is based on a book series that I remember well as a child in elementary school. I do believe there's 4 installments, and there's just a bunch of short, scary stories.
Okay, it's actually going to be rated PG-13, so if the kids are old enough, you might be able to take them to see that, and especially if they've seen the books, they'd probably be wanting to see it anyway.
I want to see it. In fact, I have the first 2 books on my bookshelf back there, and I was thinking about pulling those out and reading through them with the kids, and then maybe going and watching it and seeing if it I mean, surely it's going to pull from those short stories.
And you're familiar with Del Toro's work, right?
Yeah.
And he's a producer, one of the producers on this. Do you think that his style is
definitely.
well matched?
I think he'll be well matched for it. I think his style is fantastic, and especially in this kind of a genre, I think it'll put a nice twist on it, and I think that he'll be able to capture the spookiness and the scariness without being over the top. You know what I mean? Like for a child's book, right? It's a kid's book, and there's scary stories, but it's not like going and watching Clive Barker's Hellraiser, for instance. It's a little bit different, right? And so to have that fine line to be able to have a PG-13 and be scary, but not like, nightmares.
It might be a good, hard PG-13. We'll have to see.
Yeah, so we'll see.
They need to remake Wishmaster. That was a cheesy horror. Get the same guy back too.
Yeah, I love his voice though. That voice was fantastic.
Make your wishes. I actually had the DVD double set 1 and 2 one's on each side.
Well, folks, that pretty much wraps up the weekly roundup, and we appreciate you watching. Continue to tune in to Fan Talk. And
well, actually, just a second.
Oh?
I want to do a couple quick predictions. We got 5 movies coming out this coming week.
Okay.
Rather than, it's easy whenever it's Lion King coming out. Yeah, that'll be number 1.
Okay.
So I haven't gone to that the last couple of weeks because it's just kind of silly to say, okay, what do you think's going to open number 1? Hobbs.
Yeah.
So we got 5 movies coming out. We got the Racing in the Rain, the drama comedy. We got the Brian Banks sports movie. We got Dora. We got Hell's Kitchen, and we got the Scary Stories. In addition to that, we still have Hobbs maybe playing strong. What do you think? Where do you think these new ones are going to pop in the rankings here?
It's kind of those things. I really think that it's possible for Dora the Explorer to push Hobbs out of the number 1 spot, and I think that it's a popular enough series, and the only thing that I think will keep that from happening, if it does, will be the fact that there are other movies that you can take your kids to see. But for opening weekend, it's going to be the smart choice. So I feel like it can come in at number 1 next week.
I'm going to go a bit more conservative on that one. I'm going to say it's going to have a tough battle for number 2 versus The Lion King. The Lion King drops another 50%. That drops it down to 19 million. That's, I think, definitely doable for Dora, possibly. Yeah. So I'm going to say it's going to battle out for Lion King.
And that's probably a more realistic standpoint. I'm sitting here thinking, about what's coming out. The rest of those movies, I think they're going to knock a couple other things out. I think that Annabelle's going to get knocked out next week.
Because it made $1 million last weekend.
Aladdin, I don't know. Crawl, I don't even know. But I do think that Aladdin's definitely going to finally see its... Annabelle's going to see her last week on the top 10.
I don't think all these will open the top 10.
No, definitely not. But I think that there's a good chance that a couple of them will.
I think Dora and I think The Kitchen might, just because of well-known names.
The Kitchen has a bunch of well-known names. And most of the others, a lot of them are limited release also, aren't they?
No, these are wide release.
Are they all?
They're not going to be like 4,000 theater releases, but they're definitely wide release.
Okay.
There's other limited releases that we didn't get to this time just because of time constraints. But I'm hoping Scary Stories does well and at least gets in the top 10 because that sounds like it'd be a good one to,
And Horse have done well this summer. So
but I'm going to think Dora is definitely going to be, I'm hoping the top 5 for sure. And then The Kitchen, I think, might be in the top 10.
All right.
We'll see you next week if we're right. And
All
please
right.
let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Yep. Again, thanks for tuning in to Fan Talk, and don't forget to like and subscribe.